Welcome back, everyone, to the number one Mid-American Conference podcast, the Max Sports Connection. I'm Alex, joined as always is Graham. Graham, welcome back. We took a little bit of a break, and then, of course, everything happened.
I don't know if everything happened, but we did. We took a couple weeks off. I think the last people probably saw of us was on social media documenting our journey to the MAC championship game. What a game that was!
Oh, that was a blast. That Western Michigan looked great all four quarters. The defense was excellent. Jalen Buckley was excellent. And the Broncos galloped out of Detroit with a 23-13 win over the Miami Redhawks. Miami, who had been in three straight championships, losers of the last two.
Well, I think we talked about this when both teams came out. Both teams scored relatively quickly. Both teams moving down the field. And we had talked before, we thought this one was going to kind of be a defensive battle. And it really wasn't. But that Miami team marched down the field and then suddenly couldn't find it for the rest of the game. Had a really hard time getting things going on offense. I think the difference was the Western Michigan defense came out a little bit shocked by the spotlight. And then they settled in after that first drive. And that Western Michigan, especially Nadine Tucker, looked so excellent. We got a couple of shots from the sideline of various Miami players, quarterbacks and running backs alike, running from Nadine Tucker and fleeing for their lives. So, yeah, we got a good one there. And then the Broncos just continued it on. They played 8 quarters of that championship game because they went straight to Myrtle Beach and beat up on Kennesaw State. And frankly, Western looked really good in that game. They lost Jalen Buckley early, but not before he racked up, 175 yards?
Unreal. He was, I think it was officially 174 yards on, get this, 8 carries. Dude looked like a man possessed for 15 minutes. And then they're like, he's kind of got a knee issue. We've got this under control. They had a 27-0 lead at the end of one quarter.
Yeah. Well, for the longest time, Brock Lowry was 2 for 2 for 7 yards and 2 touchdowns.
What a stat line.
I know. I wish it had continued. Brock Lowry did eventually start passing a little bit more, not a ton more, but a little bit more as Western Michigan cruised to a 41-6 victory over Kennesaw State. And that Western Michigan team looked really good all year, start to finish. They looked like the top team in the conference, and they really sealed it with that bowl victory. Alex, I'm really excited to see what they got next year because this team was impressive this year.
Yeah, they, like you said, crushed the bowl victory. In their last 2 games, they've scored 64 points and have only surrendered 19. So they've looked really good in all facets of the game. Kind of with this bowl game, Jalen Buckley won MVP playing 15 minutes. He had 8 carries and 1 MVP. That's just how dominant he was. So hats off to him. But to your point about next year, I think I want to rewind it back to the beginning of this year. You and I kind of wrote Western Michigan off a little bit.
Well, I think we saw them last year, Alex. We saw them come out and look strong against the weak teams in the conference. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the year, when they were playing the top teams in the conference, they looked bad. Yeah. Western Michigan looked bad at the end of last year. And for me anyway, I take offense to that. I take offense to a team who tricks me. And Western Michigan tricked me last year. They came out and they looked good until they didn't. And so I was not a believer this year. Watching them, that's the throughout the season, I needed to be convinced. But by the end of the year, it was pretty convincing that they were the best team in the conference. They dropped 1 conference game to Miami. And frankly, that one looked like a fluke after this championship game. They were clearly the better team in Detroit.
Yeah, no, by and large, best team in Detroit. And then obviously the best team down there in the Myrtle Beach Bowl, Conference USA champ, came in with a lot of pomp and circumstance, a little bit of biting back and forth between MAC fans and Conference USA fans for supremacy between the two leagues. A lot of CUSA fans have, especially in recent history, have been, oh, Conference USA is the next great Group of Five conference. We're by and large better than the Mid-American Conference. Well, Conference USA, you went 0-3 against the MAC this year. Now that's not something that I'm going to say is going to carry over to next year, but for this year, the MAC is the better conference. And
well, in the battle of conference champs, no contest, Western Michigan was the better team. So yeah. Kennesaw State and Western Michigan finished the year with identical records, but Western Michigan just walked away in that one. Coming up, Alex, we got a few more bowl games for the rest of the conference. By the time you're listening to this, these games will have already happened. But on December 23rd, Toledo takes on Louisville in the Boca Raton Bowl. And Louisville favored in that one by 7.5. But I think they are not giving the Rockets credit.
I'm so curious about this game. 2:00 on ESPN. Toledo's 2-0 in this bowl game in the last 10 years. An opportunity to get back-to-back bowl victories over Power 4 opponents. But for me, I think we could have seen Toledo have a lot more guys opt out after the departure of Jason Gandil. 3 guys opted out. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is not one of them. And that's a big piece on the defensive side. Now, Toledo is probably not running out Tucker Gleason. Looks like it's probably going to be the freshman Osborne running out there. Gleason is hurt, but you're going to get a completely different look from this team than you've gotten all year long. Whether that's good, whether that's bad, well, that remains to be seen. But yeah, I think I'm with you. I don't think that they're giving Toledo enough credit here.
Well, and give it a couple weeks to actually install Osborne as the guy behind center. We'll see. I mean, when we saw Osborne this year filling in for Tucker Gleason, he didn't look particularly impressive. But I think given some time, given the opportunity to tool the offense around him, it might be different. Now, Toledo facing a bit of adversity here. No Tucker Gleason, a coaching change, plenty of stuff going on for the Toledo Rockets that might make this a tough game. Of course, Louisville favored in this one already prior to these announcements regarding Toledo. So it'll be an interesting game. I still like the Rockets in this one, Alex.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I'm excited to watch this one. I think that this is a quality game between two good programs. For me, I'm very interested in seeing if the winning coach gets baked beans dumped on them. Because this is that baked beans Boca Raton Bowl, the Bush's Boca Raton Bowl, rather. So I'm just saying, I really want that. Duke's Mayo Bowl gives you mayonnaise. The Pop-Tarts Bowl, you get to cannibalize a Pop-Tart. Yeah, I'm just sitting here really wanting the winning coach to get beans dumped on him. And I think that'd be the great way to end the bowl.
I think we got to reach out to Merriam-Webster's and get you a dictionary, because I'm not sure cannibalize means what you think it means. I'm
sorry, that Pop-Tart was alive when it goes into the poster.
You would have to be a Pop-Tart eating the Pop-Tart for it to be cannibalism. 9:00 on ESPN. Also on December 23rd, Ohio taking on UNLV. This is UNLV's second MAC matchup of the year. And Miami almost took down this team early in the season. So, I love Ohio in this matchup. This one will be interesting. It's in the Frisco Bowl in Texas. Scooter's Coffee sponsoring this one. Alex, I think what I'm looking for in this one is C.A. Bangura.
Yeah,
that's the guy. He's been the guy for Ohio for the past 2 months, and I'm looking to see that continue. But this Ohio offense has been good all year, and regardless of what the opposing defense shuts down, whether it's the passing attack or the rushing attack, they figure out a way to get those yards. So hopefully the Ohio defense can step up enough to stop the UNLV offense. But I have no doubt that the Ohio offense is going to show up.
The Bobcats, of course, with their own head coaching news, Brian Smith officially fired in the past week from Ohio. It feels like this whole offseason has been a coaching miscue, one coaching miscue after another, and it's taken place on a national stage.
Yeah, I mean the these coaching I don't even know what to call them, coaching mishaps.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I like it.
Have taken place nationally. I mean across the board. I think when we actually look at the MAC, there hasn't been a ton of coaching stuff, but the coaching changes that have happened have been higher profile. So whether it's Jason Candle moving to or it's Toledo getting their guy, or it's the Brian Smith firing, the changes here in the Mid-American Conference have been higher profile. Shout out to Mark Carney, because I didn't know how to work him in there, but love to see that that head coaching finalization. But the Brian Smith news. I think folks are going to have opinions about it.
Yep.
And I think when you read into the documents, we've gotten the letter from the university, we've gotten the letter from Brian's lawyer, and I think when you read through them, certainly there's a take, but you can see either side here. I have a hard time believing that the university would part ways with Brian Smith without further cause than what's been revealed. So I think there's part of the story that we're not getting.
No, I think you're spot on. This is it doesn't feel like a complete story. And anybody kind of watching and observing, that's been a consistent theme. It's that they don't feel like it's the whole story. They feel like there's something missing. So it remains to be seen. But yes, Ohio moving on from Brian Smith after one season. And that one's good luck to whoever's coming in next is,
well, it's funny.
I guess is really my big thing.
We talked about that Ohio for so long, and such strong coaching. I mean, you could look and you could say, like, who's coaching Ohio? It's Frank Solich, and that statement could have been true. What, he was there for 20 years,
close to. I think it was 18 years. Yeah.
So the for 20 years, you can ask who's coaching the Bobcats, and it's the same guy. And then we looked at Tim Albin and we said, like, oh, this is just a continuation, and he'll be here for a long time. And then he wasn't. And we said, but that's okay, because Brian Smith, that's just a continuation. He'll be here for a long time. And now he wasn't. Are things changed? Is the culture changed officially at Ohio?
Frank Solich stepped down and it all goes to hell. That's what happened. But no, it's I think it's, a mix of personal decisions, a mix of
well, it's all personal decisions. It just depends on what you mean by that.
The fair. But I think it's really and not to say that that's the case here, but I think ego gets in the way. Ego kind of drives poor decisions because people feel like they're invincible. And I'm starting to think that maybe part of that is the case here. It seemed to be the case at Michigan with Sharon Moore. And these coaches, just got to be careful, guys. That's for any coaches listening, just be careful, be smart about what you're doing.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring up the Sharon Moore thing because I think that's a completely different situation than the Brian Smith thing. But certainly we've seen a little bit of coaching controversy this season of college football. On Friday, December 26th, Boxing Day, The MAC returns to Ford Field for the Game Above Sports Bowl. This one, Central Michigan taking on Northwestern. Northwestern favored in this one by 10.5. I think the Chippewas for me this year were very impressive, especially considering where they came from last year. I don't know that they have enough to take down the Wildcats.
I think that if they're going to do it, it's going to be their defense. They have the best turnover margin in the Mid-American Conference this year. They had at least one turnover every single game. For me, I think that, Jordan Kwiatkowski is going to be the guy that they're going to rely on defensively. He had 3 picks in the regular season. The offense isn't getting it done. With great respect to Central Michigan and what Matt Drinkle has done, the offense isn't going to be what gets it done. The defense is going to have to wear out Northwestern. And to Northwestern's, credit is they've played some really peculiar games. They've lost games that you probably scratch your head at a little bit. And then they've been close in games that you're like, well, they were right there. So, I think this line is probably correct at 10.5 points. I'm excited for this one. This is one of my favorite post-Christmas games to watch. We've seen some really great games between the MAC and not just the Big Ten, but the ACC, the Mountain West. Like, there have been some really great games here. And I'm hoping for another instant classic. I think what's going to happen is it's going to be a defensive slog for 2.5, 3 quarters. Northwestern's going to find a way to pull away in the 4th quarter. And that's going to be the difference in the game.
Yeah, I'm also picking Northwestern in this one. But, Central Michigan has the opportunity to make this one close, and I would love to see that. I would love for Central to prove me wrong. That one at 1:00 on Friday on ESPN, and then finally the final MAC bowl game of the season on Saturday at 4:30. This one on the CW. It's the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. Alex, I have complained about the announcing in this bowl every year that they've had it, and I can't imagine that it's going to get much better this year, but maybe it will. Maybe this game, despite being the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl, despite being on the CW, it will be taken more seriously than it has in past years. I don't know about that. Miami taking on Fresno State, the Red Hawks against the Bulldogs. Fresno favored in this one by 6 points, and certainly in Tucson. This one is more of a home game for Fresno State than it is for Miami.
Yeah, Miami's got a much bigger trip to this one. Fresno, honestly, could probably make it just a long bus trip. Miami's definitely going to have to fly for this one. Red Hawks, their defense is going to keep them in it. I don't know, after watching what happened in the MAC championship, that the offense has. I think the offense has plenty of talent. I want to be clear. Like, guys like Cam Perry out at the wide receiver spot. You got Jordan Brunson in the backfield. But I think it's going to be, guys like Eli Blakey and Adam Trick on the defensive side who are going to give Miami every opportunity to win this game. But the Fresno offense is pretty good. Fresno State comes into this one 8-4. I think that they've lost some peculiar games, but they do have a 30-7 win over Boise State. They've got a big win over Wyoming. Their defense is just as good. So this one's going to be an interesting one. I think Fresno State probably takes this one. But this one's going to be a low-scoring game.
Yeah, this is a tough game. I wasn't particularly impressed with Miami at the MAC championship, despite the fact that they've had a couple of good games this year. Especially you talk about the win over Western Michigan earlier this year. Miami has had a few good games, but I think in this one, I don't know. I have a tough time. Miami looked really flat in that MAC championship game, and so I just don't know that they have any momentum in this game. In big games this year, they faltered. Starting with that close loss to UNLV, a loss to Ohio in that rivalry game, a big loss to Toledo. Now we know there were some quarterback things going on in that game, so maybe we can look over that one. But then a loss in the MAC championship game. I think the question has to be, can Miami win big games? Can this Miami team win big games? And I haven't seen it yet. So I tend to also think Fresno State, but I would love for the Redhawks to prove me wrong.
Yeah, Redhawks is your chance. Go out 8-6 on the season, which I'm just gonna say 8-6 looks really weird for a final end of a season record. But to your point about the Arizona Bowl, I did not have that many issues with the announcing and broadcasting last year. My issue was when it was Barstool Arizona Bowl. That's when I had most of my issues.
You know what? Certainly, I think it got better last year. I love Snoop, and I think he does a good job with the sports stuff. Last year, I think there was some lingering Barstool hangover.
Yes.
It seemed like they were trying to transition rather than just make it new. So I'm hoping that this one is clearly the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl and not the Snoop Dogg takes over the Barstool Arizona Bowl. But we'll see.
At least Snoop wasn't live betting while he was calling the game. So
right. Yeah, that was
I'll take that.
that yes. Again, I've had issues with this bowl in the past, and I hope that it is better this year. I'm sure it will be. Go all the MAC teams. I'd love to see the MAC get a full sweep here, and I think it's doable. It'll be tough, but I think it's doable.
Yeah. Let's talk some basketball, Graham. First off, we just talked about Miami, so let's transition into Miami men's basketball. 13-0 on the year. Now, before I give them, people give them too much grief about their opponents, they've played who they scheduled. They've played all of those opponents, and they've won all those games. I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's the worst. If I think it's 363rd strength of schedule in the country, they're still 13-0. Right? There's,
I agree.
Was 13-0.
I agree with what you're saying, and I have much the same viewpoint. 13-0 is 13-0. I love how you found 3 sentences to say nothing. You said they've played who they've scheduled. They scheduled who they scheduled. Yeah, sure. Great. This is.
But like you look at the schedule, right? So the MAC versus Sun Belt Challenge, they get Old Dominion to start the year. You can't control that one. You get Trinity, Illinois. You're at Air Force versus Mercyhurst, Arkansas Pine Bluff, UNC Greensboro, Indiana University East, which, okay, that's one of those bye games, right? You get Maine, UNC Asheville, Eastern Kentucky. Wright State was the game that I think everybody was like, all right, this is where Miami falls off. And they won that one by 7. Ball State, they came out and they won that game. It's too early, I think, to say, oh, this Miami team's for real. But this Miami team looks like they're going to be pretty good in conference play this year.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, some of these, all of these games have been cakewalk games, frankly. But some of these games against the cakewalk teams, 129 against Trinity, 111 against Arkansas Pine Bluff, 109 against IU East, and most recently 135 against Milligan. If your offense can do that, if you're putting up 135 points in a college basketball game is tough, regardless of who the opponent is. If your offense can do that, you're going to be successful in the Mid-American Conference. So let's not count Miami out by any means, but I will say, for me, Miami is maybe the 3rd best team in the conference right now. Okay. I think other teams have been more impressive despite losses, which obviously Miami doesn't have. But I'm not impressed with the schedule. I'm not impressed with most of these wins. But sure. Wins are wins. So we're getting into conference play now, and we'll see. I mean, this will be a really good gauge for Miami with coming up this next week against Bowling Green, but especially January 3rd, taking on the team that I think is the top of the conference right now, the Akron Zips. Akron right now 9-3, but their three losses come to, at the time, number 2 Purdue, Yale by 3 points, and that game came down to the last second. And then by 15 to Murray State, which to me, I don't know if you watched that game, Alex, but that one seemed like an outlier sort of game. They still put up 100 points, and so I'm not concerned about it. But Akron has looked very good this year, and I'm impressed with the Zips. I think the Zips are the best team in the conference right now.
Akron has also, fun fact, 2 wins over college football playoff teams. The schools in the college football playoff, James Madison and Tulane. Just a fun little random tidbit I was looking at when I saw their schedule. But no, I think I think you're right. Akron's probably the best team in the conference. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention Buffalo. Buffalo 10-2. They started off strong this year. They've gone 3-2 in their last 5. But they have a nice win over Western Michigan, a 3-point loss to East Carolina, and then an 8-point loss versus St. Bonaventure, who, when you know anything about St. Bonaventure, they're always good. They're 11-2 right now, right? They're always consistently talked about in the Atlantic 10. So I think these are quality, overall pretty quality losses for Buffalo. East Carolina, maybe not so much. East Carolina kind of sitting towards the bottom of the American Conference, but Buffalo's looking really good right now.
Yeah, Buffalo looking very good. They are I think they're my 4th team in the conference right now, behind Akron, and then behind my 2nd team in the conference, who is Kent State, who also 10-2 right now. Lost by 6 to Troy to start the season, and then kind of a not great loss to Portland, 88-78. But that one at Portland, so I'm less concerned about that loss. A real gauge of where they're at will be against number 5 Purdue. Again, Purdue taking on our MAC teams. That one coming up on the 29th. So I think that'll gauge, especially if we compare that score to when Akron took on Purdue. This could be a great way to gauge this team. But for me, Kent State has been the second best team in the conference so far. You talk about victories over Wright State. Kent State has a victory over Wright State. Kent State has 2 victories over Cleveland State, who often has a strong team there. I think for me, their resume looks very similar to Miami's, except they've played a harder schedule so far. So I like Kent State as my second favorite team in the conference. I have Miami 3rd and Buffalo 4th.
Yeah, no, that feels like a really good top 4 right now. I think Kent State getting that win over UMass, that's a good way for Kent State to start conference play, right? UMass, not known for their football, but definitely better known for their basketball. Coming in and going to make the conference a little bit more competitive. I'm excited to have them in the league. But now it's an opportunity for the league to step up and say, hey, you've got better competition who's threatening to take the crown. Time to step up. And I think Kent State did in a defensive battle. That was a low scoring game. But overall, I think this is going to be a really great addition long term for the Mid-American Conference.
Yeah, I would love to see UMass be good. I mean, that's what we talked about when we brought the team into the conferences. We said, they're gonna kind of drag down our football, but they should elevate our basketball. And so far, so good. I mean, a loss to Kent State, their only conference game so far, but they're 9-4 overall. And UMass, I would be very surprised if they didn't make it to Cleveland this year.
No, I agree with you. Just briefly on the women's side, I want to give them their credit as well. Ball State has looked really good. They did drop 3 of their last 4. They lost to Davidson, at Louisville, and then at South Dakota. They're South Dakota State. All 3 of those losses on the road. But they got a nice win over Eastern Michigan to kick off conference play. They travel to Akron, who, if you know anything about Akron women's basketball, they're terrible, Graham. And
so
I
so far, yeah, so far
and I
that's
say that
true.
with a great amount of love for Akron, who was pressing the Heidelberg Lady Student Princes up 70 in the fourth quarter. That's another discussion for another time. But Akron not looking great this year. Their wins have again been against Geneva, another Division III program, Heidelberg, a poor OAC Division III program, and then Lemoyne, the Dolphins, they're 1-11 on the year. I think they're also Division One, but they're in the Northeastern Conference, so they're not great. But Ball State looking good so far. I've been pretty impressed with them. I've also been impressed with Bowling Green, and I know that those are the top two teams in the standings, but Bowling Green's on a nice little win streak here. They're sitting at 8-4. They're on a 7-game win streak since their loss versus UC Irvine. And again, not going to take too much credence here and say that they're going to win the thing, but they got the win over Kent State, and Kent State usually pretty good in conference play. And
Yeah,
I mean, they played a tough
they
schedule.
don't have any wins so far that impress me.
Sure.
But a win over Louisiana is a decent win. A win over Kent State is a decent win. A loss to UC Irvine, that's tough. The loss to Marquette and Wisconsin, kind of expected. The loss to South Carolina, certainly expected, but that's an ugly loss. So tough to say.
UC Irvine is 11-2 this year.
Tough to say where Bowling Green is going to end up completely. I feel the same way about Ball State. They have losses to teams who are tough. They have losses to teams who are decent, and a couple of good wins for Ball State. More good wins for Ball State than for Bowling Green. UMass women in a very similar situation to UMass men, where they've had a great season so far, but they've lost their first conference game. So they are in the conference standings. Sorry, they haven't played a conference game yet. I amend my statement. In the conference standings, they don't look as high as everybody else because they don't have any conference games yet. But they've started off well. Only losses to Army and to Youngstown State. Playing Western Michigan. Playing Western Michigan on New Year's Eve. I think the UMass Minute women are going to be pretty good this year, Alex.
Yeah, I'm excited. Not kind of what people were expecting UMass to be good at, but it'll be nice to see both their men and women basketball programs be competitive in the Mid-American Conference this year. I'm very excited to see what they bring to the table and how they can kind of compete and help elevate the conference. It should be a lot of fun. But yeah, UMass their women just 2 3-point losses on the regular season. And yeah, I mean, a 3-point loss at Army and then the 3-point home loss versus Youngstown State. Yeah, I think, like you said, they're going to be pretty good this year. Should be fun.
And then quick shout outs to Miami, who is 8-4 right now. Losses to Oakland, Purdue, Washington State, and Colorado. All power conference teams. And then Central Michigan also having a great year so far. They are 7-4. Lost to Georgia Southern, but their other losses come against ranked teams: Notre Dame, Michigan, and Kentucky. They have some very good wins so far, and a win over Northern Illinois to start conference play. So, I think Central Michigan, any of those teams that we mentioned, I think there's 5 or 6 teams on the women's side right now who look very strong, and frankly, we might know the Detroit field, or not the Detroit, rather the Cleveland field already, just based on the start of the season.
No, absolutely. This is going to be a competitive season, but the early in conference play, the teams that want to be in Cleveland are starting to show themselves a little bit. So very exciting. Looking forward to watching the rest of this regular season unfold before we send our teams off to Cleveland. Graham, do you have anything else before we start to slowly close this thing out?
No, I think that's what I've got in terms of Max Sports updates.
Some good updates. Make sure you guys tune into the bowl games this week. We've got 4 of them over the next 5 days, so it should be a great run. And then last but not least, next week we will be recording our final episode of the Max Sports Connection podcast. So anybody listening, please feel free to send us questions, comments, concerns, favorite memories, whatever. We'll have more on that next week with our final episode recording. But yeah, if you have any memories or anything that you want to share with us as we wrap this thing up, it's been a great 6 years, but we want to make sure that we give you an opportunity to share your thoughts with us as we close this chapter and move on.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to wax too poetic on this episode because that's what the final episode will be about. But certainly, it's been a fun ride, and for me, I've only ridden for a small portion of it, but it's been a fun ride, and really, it's all thanks to the listeners that have made this so great. The Mid-American Conference, such a close knit and really unique sort of sports fan sort of environment community that it's really been it's really been a great ride, and we're excited to, well, not excited, a little bit bittersweet to close it out with our next episode, but certainly tune in for that, and certainly let us know if you have any questions or comments, favorite memories, things that you'd like us to talk about on that final show, because really we do this for you, and we'd be excited to hear what you have to say as we say goodbye.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to do it for us today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll have a lot of fun next week. So make sure you guys check out the bowl games this week, watch some college basketball this week, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all of our listeners out there. We appreciate the love and the support, and we will see you guys next week for the final episode of the Max Sports Connection podcast. See you then.